Okay,
Warm in here. I got long johns on.
here we are. Um, Not at church, over Zoom, because we can do this now in 2025. So that's a blessing. That's an unintended
Mhm.
that's an unintended gift of
COVID.
Satan to the church of God in his dominion here down on earth, that he has provided this ample opportunity for us to continue to study the Bible and meet. It's not as good as in person, but it'll do. So I spoke somewhat sarcastically there, of course. Anyway, we are in chapter 31, so we're making pretty good time now. The stories really, like I said before, they kind of speak for themselves. We're coming through the period where Jacob has, shockingly, when he arrives, like I've said, when Abraham's servant went to this same place, Paddan Aram, to get a wife for Isaac, it was the stars all aligned, or I'm mixing the paganism again, so ignore that. Everything worked out, and it was this clear path. The seas parted. Let's use that. And that did not happen for Jacob. But as soon as he got there, it unraveled quickly. And now he's not getting out of there for 20 years, and he's been miserable, as he will say in this chapter in 31. He now has four wives, not one wife. He was commanded by Isaac to go take a wife. The narrator knowing exactly what's going to happen. Isaac didn't say, "Go thou and get thee four wives and raise up 12 tribes." He simply said, I don't like these Canaanite women, like what Esau married. So I want you to go to Paddan Aram, because that'll work out a lot better if you go to Paddan Aram and take a wife from my kinsman. It worked out for me, so it should work out for you. And the common denominator between those two incidents was Laban. Laban was there, and we had some hints of his subterfuge and guile when the servant came and arrived at their house, and now Laban has reappeared. And so this time it completely unravels. He's not getting out of there without a lot of suffering. So he's going to become rich, and he's going to have a lot of children, but not without a cost. And he'll express that cost and the cost that he went through to the Pharaoh at the end of the book. What's the line, Mike? Uh, my sojourning has been 137 years, few. I mean, what do you call it? Few and miserable, or something like that. When Pharaoh asks him how old he is, I forget how he says it, but
I think he said something about few and wicked.
few and wicked, yeah. So, yeah, he certainly wasn't impressed. But anyway, he's now going to flee. So he fled in a sense secretly from uh, Canaan because of Esau. He will now flee secretly. Now his best option is to go back and try to mend things with Esau, assuming Esau doesn't kill him, because that was the threat. In fact, let's go back and look at that to set the context of this. That was what, 29 or so?
Somewhere.
So you're supposed to know this by heart.
Yeah.
What's where?
Uh, 28 and 29.
28. But there's this quote, that's 27. There's this quote. Let's see. Verse 41. This is after the stealing of the blessing. Esau bore a grudge against Jacob. I'll bet he did.
Yeah.
Esau said, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." So we can, or Jacob can, thank God that Esau at least had the integrity to wait until his father was dead before he killed Jacob, because that's going to give Jacob a chance to escape. But Rebecca finds out about it, and she tells him, "You got to go because Esau's planning to kill you as soon as your father's dead. So arise, flee." There it is, verse 42. Flee to Haran, to my brother Laban. Flee flee from the fire into the frying pan. You've all heard that expression, right? From the frying pan into the fire.
Hmm.
Well, these are the two options, Esau or Laban. And so of the two right now, Laban, unbeknownst to Jacob, Laban is going to be the least horrible option. Esau's the fire, Laban's the frying pan. So he's, well, I'm going to go to Laban. So he goes to Laban. And he says, stay with him. What? How long? Right here? Awesome. Right there. Stay with him a few days, says the narrator, who knows full well how long he's really going to spend there until his fury subsides. He forgets what you did to him. Yeah, he's not going to forget. Why would he forget? Then I will send and get you from there so that I don't lose both of you in a day, because Esau's probably holding a grudge against me too. So that's the setup. That's on the other side. That's on that's on this side of his trip to Paddan Aram. Now on that side, on the other side, uh, here's what it looks like. 20 years later, now he's worn out his welcome with Laban because of what Laban considers a deception by Jacob. So Esau was the real recipient of a deception from Jacob, and Laban is or is not a victim of deception by Jacob. But at any rate, that's certainly the way that he sees it. And so he will now flee. I think the word flee, isn't flee in there somewhere? These words that tie narratives together. Flee. You got to look for them constantly. There it is. It's actually used twice right there in verse 20. Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. And then that's going to be what Laban will say to Jacob. Why did you flee? In verse 27, secretly, like he did Canaan, and deceived me and did not tell me, and so on and so forth. And so that's the bracket. These words indicate these brackets. And so that's a deception on one side and a fleeing, and now a deception on the other side and another fleeing. And he doesn't have any choice to jump back into the fire from the frying pan. So that's kind of the summary setup, and we're in about verse 30 right now. I listened to it this morning. Does anybody want to say anything about this before we move on? It's a remarkable story. Another thing to keep in mind, think about how long this narrative is. Most of these stories happen pretty quick. But this story about Jacob, let's see, how far back does that go? It's going to go back to right there. So he goes on his journey in 29. And his journey out of Canaan, this 20-year saga, is going to be 29, 30, 31, and then he finally, he's not even there yet. He's not going to get to Canaan, not going to get back to Canaan until chapter 32. It's not going to resolve till the end of 32. 33. Is it 33? Maybe it's 33. This might be 5
Jacob
chapters.
meets Esau and he can't.
That's not going to happen until 33, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the origin story for the 12 tribes begins in chapter 29 when he flees for Paddan Aram, and doesn't resolve itself until the end of chapter 33. So that's 4 straight chapters of kind of an origin story where he sets up an altar right here at Shechem. And that finally resolves. So that's and then after that, I think it's the mess with, yep. And then it's the treachery of Jacob's sons. It's awesome. Like father, like son. Like father, like father and mother. Like father and mothers. So go the sons. But anyway, remarkable narrative. Considering that it's an origin story, the birth of a people. You can't make this stuff up, nor would you if you were going to make up a story. This ain't it. All right. Let's see. So we're at let's call it let's just start at 25 and then we'll just keep going here. Laban caught up with Jacob, so he finds out, he chases him down. Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen camped in the hill country of Gilead. So they're to the northeast, which we'll look at in a minute. They're to the north and west of Canaan, to the south and east of Paddan Aram. So he doesn't go directly into Canaan. He's going to take a trip to the east side of Jordan. So we'll look at that in a minute. Then Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword?" Huh. I wonder if your daughters agree with that. "Why did you flee secretly and deceive me and did not tell me so that I might have sent you away with joy and with songs, with timbrel and lyre, and did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters? You have done foolishly," which defines Laban over the last 20 years. "It is in my power to do you harm, which it's not. God has already ordered him to do nothing to Jacob. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, be careful not to speak either good or bad to Jacob." It's one of the remarkable statements of impotence by anyone in the Bible right there. There's going to be another one coming in a minute by Laban. After he claims that he has the power, he's going to say the creator of all things said, "No, you're not. You're not going to do anything to him. Now you indeed needed to go back to your father's house, I understand, but why did you steal my gods?" So he's had an encounter with the creator of all things and been warned by him. And what he's concerned now is, secondarily, you stole my gods. So there's the mindset of pagan idolatry right there. Jacob replied to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what it is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself." For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the idols. So that was Rachel's last act, the beloved wife. She stole her father's household idols. Why did she steal her father's household idols? We don't know. The narrator's not interested. But like I've said before, don't give these people the benefit of the doubt. They are who they are, and warts and all, this is the way of people, at least at that period, in terms of idolatry. So, I mean, she may have just been trying to get even with him, but, I don't know. So that's a subplot that's going on. What about these idols? There's all kinds of threats to the covenant that are going on. You can trace this back to Abraham, like I said, fleeing Canaan, going to Egypt, and in my mind, obviously planning on never returning. Then you have Ishmael, the birth of Ishmael by Hagar, who's going to be a threat to Isaac being the heir. You had Lot before that, who was a threat to the land. He selects himself out of competition by choosing to go to the east. What else? Now you have Jacob and Esau. Now he's left Canaan. And is he ever coming back? Because, the years are moving on. And you don't get any sense that Jacob plans on going back during the 20 years. He's just there, and it's all unfolding, and he's getting these wives and children and all this wealth, but there's no hint, I don't think, during those chapters that he was doing all this planning on going back. And then at the end of the story of his time in Padan Aram, he finally says, "It's time for me to go back." And you go, "Oh, okay, he's going to go back." And now he's finally going back. So we've been in the midst of another threat to the promise of Canaan, because the heir to the promise, Jacob, has left Canaan for 20 years. So now he's coming back. But now we're going to have another threat to the covenant. First of all, Laban again, and what's going to happen with him. God steps in to resolve that one personally. And then the next one up is going to be Esau again. He's still got to face Esau. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, let me check my notes. Just talking right now. Where am I at? Let's see. So another thing about these idols are that they're small enough. These idols are small enough to fit in whatever the camel's saddlebag or wherever it is that Sarah hid them. These idols are small enough for that. So he meets the, excuse me, he meets the creator of all things, who the whole universe cannot encompass. But he wants these idols that can be stolen by Rachel and put in a camel sack of some, and sat on. That she's going to sit on them, the idols.
Is it the
And it's
monetary value he's worried about? Gold or something that they're
That's a
made
good
of?
thought. Is it the monetary value? I don't know.
I don't think so. He was polygamous. Well, not polygamous. What's the word? He worshipped many gods. He was aware of
Polytheistic.
polytheistic. He was aware of Jacob's God, but he didn't have the understanding that he's the exclusive God, only God.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they had a lot of silver. So I don't know that if they're that small. It's just a remarkable picture of the impotence of these idols. In the face of the overwhelming, the commanding presence of the God of Abraham the night before, there he was, overshadowing Laban. And now you have these idols who are, it's actually a little even more graphic than that. They're stolen by a girl. We don't know how, I don't know how old she would have been. Then helplessly stolen. They can't stop themselves from being stolen. They're small enough to put in these this pack, whatever this is. Then she sits on them to hide them. And not only is she sitting on them, this is the graphic part. What is she going to say to Laban about why she can't get up from sitting on them?
Well, it just kind of shows the deceit, the deception that of this whole thing of Rachel stealing them without Jacob knowing it, and then lying to her father when it's just a deceit that she didn't want her father to know that she'd stolen them.
My NIV says that she tells her dad she's having her period.
Yeah, that's what she tells him. It reminds me of back when Gail was had a licensed daycare in our home in Auburn Hills, and one of the mothers every month about a certain time would come in and say, "I got PMS. Don't mess with me."
I'm going to sit here silently and try to get through this passage without causing the least amount of difficulty. So anyway, that because of this, there's also this from the Israelite perspective. There's also this phenomenon of uncleanness, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the idols. It's a very graphic book from beginning to end, and it's staring you in the face here.
Yeah, I was thinking these idols are so precious to Rachel that she steals them and then sits on them.
Exactly. And it's entirely possible she wasn't lying when she gave the reason why she couldn't get up. So
she must have been pregnant at that time, wouldn't she? Because Benjamin was born on the way.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Benjamin's going to be born on a later journey, right? They're going to
Oh,
arrive
okay.
in Shechem. And then after Shechem, that's when that's going to happen.
Okay.
Okay. There's also a interesting thing going on with she says it, let's find it here. My Lord. Mhm. Pay attention to words. So you have the Lord, that's Yahweh. And then you have Rachel's statement in 35. She says to her father, "Let not my Lord be angry that I cannot rise before you," and so on and so forth. And Jacob's going to use that expression too. But you have this irony, he's going to use it in regard to Esau. In this case, she calls Laban her Lord, master, term of deference of some kind. But we've already seen him rendered impotent by the Lord, the maker of all things, the Lord of all creation. So I wonder if that's also, he's not the Lord of anybody at this point. He's been defanged completely.
Well,
So
sometimes that when a person throughout history talks about Lord, they're just using that as a sign of respect for that person, because other countries use the same thing throughout history. They call their Lord, not meaning that he's God, but
no,
they're
I know
just
that.
using that
Yeah.
of respect.
Like
So
saying, sir.
Yeah, but speaking of respect, she just stole his household idols and hid them from him and deceived him. So where's the respect? What on earth does she, and they're fleeing, and she agreed with fleeing. So there is no respect. I mean, this idea calling him my Lord, it's empty. It's a way out. That's all it is. It's almost a taunt. He's not in on it, but from the narrative standpoint, it's almost a taunt. That's all.
The term is when it applies to God, at least, is Adonai, which is a
Yeah.
plural term. Usually, when it applies to man, it's Adon, so it's the short form of that verb
Yeah.
or noun, I guess it is. But still, it implies some sort of sovereignty. Just
Does.
like
No way around it.
women had no rights; they were either under the lordship of their father or under the lordship of their husband. And so, it may be just as simple as, still referring to a former president as Mr. President.
I'm thinking of it from the narrative's perspective, not from the participants. What the
Mhm.
narrator's trying to communicate, with what he's choosing to report from what they said. And I find it interesting that he chooses to report that Rachel said it this way.
Yeah.
It just seems ironic. But anyway, go ahead and read this bigger section. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent and into the tent of the two maids. Extra credit for anyone who can get both names.
Billa and I can't remember the other one.
Oh, you don't get
Zilpah,
any extra credit. You got to get both of them.
Zilpah.
Okay, more extra credit. Which one belonged to which wife?
Billa was Rachel.
You got to get the other one. Never mind.
Zilpah was Leah.
There you go. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent.
funny.
Rachel had taken the household idols and put them in the camel saddle, and she sat on them. And Laban felt through all the tent, but did not find them. She said to her father, "Let not my Lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of women is upon me." So he searched, but did not find the household idols. So he comes back out. So that was a threat. Jacob didn't know. Jacob became angry and contended with Laban, and Jacob said to Laban, "What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have felt through all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide between us two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flock. That which was torn of beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. You required it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. By day the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock. Interesting, your flock. Oh, yeah, never mind. And you changed my wages 10 times. The second time you said that. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, had not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered judgment last night. So he sees it very close to the truth, I think. And also you get the sense that during the 20 years, it was just reported that these 7 years happened, and this 7 years, and this 6 years. There's a lot going on with what Laban was doing to Jacob during those years. And so when Jacob finally does the thing where he uses the rods to, when with the animals mating and so forth, that seems far more justified, because Laban did everything he could to make sure that Jacob was going to walk away with nothing. He did not view it as of mutual benefit. Jacob was there. The arrangement was there so that Laban would profit from Jacob and not vice versa. That's what I got to say from my notes. I don't really have anything to say.
I love
Go ahead.
I love the way he referred to God as being the fear of Isaac. I've never really heard a very good explanation of that, but I just love the way he says it.
The God of my father. Is that 3 things or 2 things or 1 thing? The God of my father, that is the God of Abraham, and the God of the fear of Isaac? Or is it the God of my father, uh, the God of Abraham, and then also the fear of Isaac? I don't know. That's weird. And
I
what
think
fear? What fear of Isaac?
I'm not sure, but it's an intriguing statement.
It's interesting that Jacob spends all that time up in Paddan Aram. You never got the sense before this that, well, no, he had the visitation on the way out, but it doesn't, there's no hint here that he had ever fallen victim to idolatry while he was in Paddan Aram. And now he leaves with this very strong sense of the providence of the God of Abraham, and probably then by extension, the promise. So this guy knew that he was supposed to inherit Canaan. So he's going back to Canaan, and he sees that within the, the context of Abraham and the promise and God himself. So good on him. Wasn't looking too good for Jacob there for a while. It wasn't looking too good until he fled, and then God intervenes, says, "Yeah, you're not leaving for permanent. You're coming back." Okay. If you do what you say, I'll return, and you'll be my God, and I'm going to give you 1/10 of everything. That was the deal. And so God has now called in the card and said, "Okay, you made a promise to me. We had a covenant, so I'm calling in. You're going back." Okay. So he starts to head back.
As I'm sitting here thinking about this, I'm thinking about all the returns in the history of Israel. First you have Jacob returning, well, you have Abraham returning to the land after going to Egypt. Now you have Jacob returning to the land after going to Paddan Aram. Then you're going to have the whole nation returning from the land after dwelling in Egypt for 430 years. Then you're going to have the remnant returning to the land after being in Babylon for 70 years. Always there's a return to the land, and that's very significant in end times understanding too.
Yeah. Are you trying to sucker me into a big conversation on eschatology?
No, it's just a comment that came to my mind through something you said.
I'm just keeping you honest.
But if you
Eschatology
wanted to
is
talk about it, go ahead.
me. No, I'm not. Are you kidding? I'm not. No, that's another conversation.
So if you want to go farther, even Phil, if you want to go farther, he brought him back to land in 1948 too, to become a nation again.
Right, right. That's what I was getting at as far as the eschatology part. It's all
Okay, I'm gonna weigh in. You wore me down for a minute, so I'll just say this. This is what I think. I agree with that, and I think it has value. The return part only has value in the context of eschatology. Since I do not believe since I believe physical Israel is no longer the covenant, the domain of the covenant. I would put this return in a different category from the prior returns. The prior returns were returns to the land of the covenant so that they could inherit the blessings of the covenant, but that covenant has now been altered. And I don't, the land is the land, the land to me is no longer part of the covenant. That's how I view the current return.
Hmm.
You guys can disagree or whatever you want, but that's what I think on that. Not that I don't think it has value. I certainly do. It's certainly not a coincidence that that happened. And it can only be by the miracle, by the providence of God that it ever happened at all in 1948, 47.
right.
And I do also think it's a setup for what's coming later.
Definitely.
Okay, I think I survived that. I don't think well, no, everybody's probably gonna be mad because I didn't say anything for sure. Let's see here. All right, I don't have any more to say about that. Rachel gets a few words in. She doesn't speak very often. She might only speak twice. Wants to say, yeah, our dad stole all our stuff, so our dad sold us and then squandered all of the money. So yeah, let's flee. She's a part of that conversation. Uh, that's right. Think about the things the beloved wife, Rachel, says. Give me children, I shall die. I think that's her first statement. Then there's the acquiescing to, yeah, we got to get out of here. We don't have any future in our father's house. And now it's I can't get up because, of this. Those are the things that Rachel says in the
And don't
Bible.
forget about the mandrakes.
Oh, the mandrakes, yeah. Give me your mandrakes. Give me your son's mandrakes. How does Leah respond to that?
Uh, well, she buys Jacob for a night.
She says, "Is it not enough that you stole my husband? Now you want my son's mandrakes too." Might be the only argument between two wives of the same husband in the entire Bible. Have I got that right? And it's an argument over mandrakes.
Well, I think that there was something going on with Samuel's mom and the other wife. In
Oh
that
yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Um,
Penina or something. I forget.
Nina, yeah, because she made her jealous purposely.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not an argument, but having two wives at the same time is really not smart.
It would be the same way around, the other way around. Two husbands. You can't have divided loyalties like that.
And then you think about Solomon, but I'm going astray here.
Okay. That's all for that. That's the setup. This is all pushing towards the great confrontation. So now we are resolving a potential threat to the covenant and a conflict puts Jacob in mortal danger, and therefore the covenant and the inheritance. So this is now resolving itself, and the next one up is going to be Esau. But anyway, 43. Then Laban replied to Jacob impotently, I might add. This I think is the most impotent statement. I tend to overspeak. It is certainly on the list of the most impotent statements of impotence in the entire Bible. Right here in 43. Laban's response, these daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, these flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do? And the answer is, go back to where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
God has taken them away from you. The creator of all things has the sovereignty. You can spout, you can say anything you want. God has taken them away, and there's nothing you can do about it. What can I do? So he acknowledges his own impotence in this matter. What can I do this day to these my daughters or to their children whom they have borne? So he concedes, and it's another act of impotence. So come now, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. Jacob took a stone and set it up on a pillar. Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather stones. So they took stones and made a heap. They ate there by the heap. Laban called the place something or other here.
Check us.
Sure.
Hadusa.
There you go. That's what it is. But Laban called it one thing, which I don't know what it means. But Jacob called it Galeed, which sounds awfully close to Gilead. So we might have another place name. Like
They
Bethel,
both mean heap of witness.
like Luz becoming Bethel, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and you this day. Therefore, it was named Galeed and Mizpah. For he said, may the Lord watch between, all of a sudden he's appealing to Yahweh. Laban, he's not worried about, God is not concerned about Jacob harming you. It's the other way around, and you're being stopped. So you can make all the covenants you want, but we already know that if you had the chance, you'd harm Jacob. So it doesn't mean anything. What Jacob has is the God of Abraham on his side. May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one from the other. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, God is witness between you and me. Interesting. Yeah, okay, it's coming. I thought there might have been a difference between here and the King James. Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold the pillar which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass by this heap to you for harm. That's not the witness. The witness is you were prevented from doing so by God himself. Another statement of impotence. There's nothing you can do to Jacob. He doesn't need a covenant to guarantee that. You will not pass by this heap and this pillar to me for harm. He's fleeing you, Laban. He's not coming back. He wants to get away from you. You chased him down, Laban. What are you talking about? He was trying to get away from you. You chased him down. Why would he return from Canaan to do you harm? The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, interesting. The God of their father, who is Terah, judged between us. He has judged. The God of Abraham has judged between them. And Laban is found guilty. Interesting that he calls him the God of Nahor. Who is Nahor?
Nahor was Terah's father and also Terah's son, wasn't he?
Well, this one here. Who would Nahor be here in this context?
I would have to guess that it was Terah's son, Abraham's brother.
And
Grandpa?
Laban's
Laban's
father.
I thought Bethuel was his father.
Yeah, so it'd be his grandfather.
or
Yeah.
grandfather, yeah.
Okay.
Interesting that he doesn't worship the God of his father, Nahor, but who is the same God as the God of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
So it ran in the family, apparently, which is kind of news. Apparently, that family did worship Yahweh, the God, the God of Abraham, as a family. So interesting. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. That's the second time he said that.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his kinsmen to the meal, and they ate the meal and spent the night on the mountain. Early in the morning, Laban arose and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. Great. Now get out of here. Uh, thank you. Have a nice day. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And Laban departed and returned to his place in one of the great acts of impotence in all the Bible, as he comes hightailing it after Jacob, firmly intent on taking everything back and possibly killing Jacob, including the 11 sons. So that's the threat that Laban represents to the covenant. There's the 11 of the 12 tribes are sitting there trying to get back to Canaan. So this guy comes in, he's going to take them all back to Paddan Aram. So God intervenes, says, "Oh, no, you're not. That's my future people there. They're going back to Canaan. I got other plans for them. Why don't you turn your angry self back and go home?" And that's exactly what happens. And all his bluster can't change anything. So
It's
that's the
kind of
narrative for the setup on his return to Canaan. And one of the most amazing things about this to me is, first of all, that I didn't look at my notes. I read all this. I didn't even read my notes. Well, let me see if I got anything interesting to say. I
what's
will in a minute.
interesting and not too is the fact that Laban continues to think that his daughters who are married to Jacob and his kids are still his kids and daughter. He keeps thinking that, well, Jacob's nobody. All his kids, all the kids that he's born are his, and not Jacob's kids.
Yeah, it's been a ruse the whole time, right? From the first moment when he tricked Jacob with Leah, and then he said, "Well, if you serve me another 7 years, you can have Rachel." That was all a trick. That was all dishonest, all of it. And when Jacob said, "Well, how about I work for, you know, another 7 years?" Because he's cutting it short here. I'll work another 7 years, and that's how I'll accumulate enough to go back to Canaan. So when Laban says, "Sure, that's fine," he firmly intends on taking everything from Jacob. And the sin that Jacob committed was not allowing that to happen. He figured it out, and just in time, he flees, of course, under the providence of God, prevents it from happening, and Laban is furious. This is a 20-year, in a sense, this is a 20-year plot coming to a climax here. And Laban gets it all taken away from him in the big, in the big ending. He gets it all taken away from him.
There's a sense of this whole patriarchal system in the Middle East. Laban was considering himself, at least, the patriarch of this family, and Jacob was a part of the family by extension. And so, in his mind, they still are all under his what would be under his rule, under his, I was going to say patriotism, but that's not the right word.
Patriarchalism.
Yeah,
Patriarchy. That's the word.
patriarchy. Yeah.
And all the
But
while, go ahead, sorry.
I'm just going to say, in our mind, Abraham's patriarchy overrules Laban's.
That's right. That's true too. Yeah. And all the while, there sits Laban's impotent gods in Camelbag that Rachel, the younger daughter, sits on. All the while that this is happening, silent. It's a remarkable statement, again, among many remarkable statements of the impotence of idolatry, of idols in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
All the gods of the nations. I'm going to close with this. I love this statement. the definitive distinction between the gods of the nations and the creator of all things. For all the gods of the peoples are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. And then right after that, he directly connects the idea of kingship, royal splendor right there. He's the creator king, and that's what Laban is up against. And he doesn't know it. He doesn't understand it. He's got these little idols that he wants back. He doesn't want he doesn't want the creator. He doesn't want the God of Abraham, the creator of all things. He wants his idols back. Hey, Rachel, get off my idols so I can take them out of here, which probably happened. Oh, no, it didn't happen because
did not
she'd be admitting that she stole them. But anyway, you can also get another picture there of the idolatry is present in the clan. It's not going to go on and say that Rachel threw away the idols. It's that they bring the idolatry back with them. And that idolatry will fester in the family. And they will pass it on. And then it will go to Egypt. And it will still be there in Egypt. And they'll leave Egypt. And it'll be there in the desert. And then it'll get into the land. And it'll be there in the land. And it will continue and continue and continue. All the way to the exile, 800 years, 900 years after, let's call it 1400 years after this, right here.
The question is, if Laban would have found those idols in Rachel's tent, Jacob had said, you can kill that person if you find them. You wonder if Laban would have went through and actually killed his daughter.
No, I think he would have taken everything.
Or he was just taking them left,
I think if he had his way, he would have taken everything and killed Jacob. He might have let Jacob go back empty-handed, but
this is perhaps a strange thought, but since Rachel grew up in Laban's home, had seen him worshiping his idols, maybe she was involved in that too. Maybe she thought they had some kind of power, and maybe her sitting on them was to keep them from hearing or having any power, because she did love Jacob, right? So perhaps she actually figured this was a way to keep them from knowing what was going on, as well as the fact that she was stealing them from her dad. But perhaps it was because she figured there was some spiritual power there.
I don't have
know.
any doubt
It's a possibility, because she grew up with that. She was used to them being the ones that were prayed to, I guess, and figured they did something. Maybe that's why later in the Bible, the Lord has it to say, they neither see nor hear.
Yeah, that's a Psalm. I don't have any doubt that she was an idol worshiper until proven otherwise. So
yeah.
Whether she thought that
perhaps
she
it was her way of trying to protect Jacob as well when her father showed up, so he wouldn't have any power through his gods.
That could be, or she went, uh-oh, I got to hide these idols. I don't know.
It could be either one, really. We can just read what it says, but we don't know everything that happened or what they thought.
Yeah. Okay, that's that. Now we're setting up for what starts out as a really, really grave situation for Jacob that will result in one of the 2 or so heartwarming stories in the entire book, and in a sense, in the entire Bible, which just comes out of nowhere. Very surprising. God will deal with Esau in a fundamentally different way from the way in which he deals with Laban. And that too will be based on a promise. We'll get to that next time. So, all right, that's it. We'll go ahead and stop. It's 10:17. Thanks for checking in. I don't mind doing this. I think this is a great way to have a Bible study too. It's not as good as in person, but
Appreciate it. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Everybody stay
Thank
warm.
you, Gary. Okay,
Take care.
thanks. Bye.
It was a good Bible study.